Critical thinking is the application of logic, reason and facts when it comes to discussion, debate and judgment. A critical thinker will not be swayed by fallacies, which are invalid arguments based on unsound reasoning. A critical thinker needs to be mature, disciplined and well-informed. Most people are not critical thinkers. They are easily manipulated by fallacies. Trolls will argue from fallacies, and being unable to handle trolls is a sign of immaturity, lack of discipline and a lack of education on the topic. There is a myth that states, "Don't feed the trolls." The myth means not to respond to trolls, to simply ignore them and not get upset by them, as if getting people upset is their objective. But this myth is false, propagated by immature people who would rather avoid trolls than deal with them. The objective of trolls is to confuse, corrupt and mislead with lies and smear. They should not be ignored, since ignoring them allows them to do more harm and passes the problem on to someone else. Instead, they should be dealt with head-on, and exposed for what they are. Their fallacies need to be refuted and revealed as fallacies each time they make them. This is what trolls cannot handle, being put under the microscope and judged righteously. There are many fallacies one can make, but I will go through the most common fallacies used every day. Ad hominem. To the man. This fallacy is a personal attack. Instead of dealing with the point at hand, one who engages in ad hominem will attempt to discredit you by calling you names. You may or may not be a Nazi, a racist, a sexist, a homophobe, an Islamophobe, or a chicken sandwich, but none of these things has any bearing on the topic and argument at hand. They are irrelevant. People who engage in ad hominem are mudslinging. They are throwing a child tantrum because they cannot defeat you legitimately. Point out this child tantrum for what it is, and you will put the accuser on the defensive, vulnerable and exposed. Do not fall for the trap and engage in name-calling back, unless the label has a connection to the argument at hand. Ad populum. To the people. Also known as bandwagon fallacy. This fallacy is the belief that if many people believe it, then it must be true. It doesn't matter how many people believe something. That has no bearing on whether or not it is true. Everyone could believe that the earth is flat, as many once did, but that doesn't make it true. People who use this fallacy know they have a weak argument. They attempt to gain a legitimate backup from other people because they can't beat you one-on-one. These people would rather cheat than lose. Ad passions. Appeal to emotion. This fallacy is the manipulative practice of plucking at one's emotions to blind them from the fact that they have no evidence to back themselves up. By appealing to their emotions, they hope to win without actually dealing with the argument. People who use this fallacy are manipulative and dishonest. Avoid falling prey to this tactic by sticking to logic, reason and facts. Your emotions have no place in debate. Those who fall prey to this tactic are immature and undisciplined, mere puppets to their emotional whims. Ad verecundiam. Appeal to authority. This fallacy is the belief that if it came from authority, then it must be true. But just because someone is in a position of authority, doesn't mean they're right. In some cases, they are a real expert on the actual topic, but even then they can still be wrong. People who use this fallacy are attempting to dodge the argument and bypass proving their case, instead demanding blind faith in someone who is higher up in authority. People who use this fallacy also often quote a non-authority as an authority, citing, often falsely, that their authority knows more than you about the topic. But even if they did know more, they can still be wrong. Strawman. This fallacy is the misrepresentation of an opponent's position, creating a weaker foe to defeat, like a man made of straw. People who use this fallacy are attempting to project the false impression of victory when they are losing, by creating a different argument that is easily defeated. This new argument has nothing to do with the actual argument made, and nothing is actually done to refute the original argument. By misrepresenting their opponent's position, they falsely claim victory over this new argument that was never made. thereby pretending to defeat their opponent. People who do this are manipulative cheaters. Red herring. This fallacy comes from using a strong-scented smoked fish, a red herring, to divert hounds away from tracking the original scent they are pursuing, thereby distracting attention onto something else. People who use this fallacy know they are losing, and try to change the topic to avoid humiliation. They change the topic into something else they can more easily handle, and often divert with another fallacy such as ad hominem and strawman fallacy. People who use this fallacy are trying to avoid losing a battle by creating a new battle that they have a better chance at winning. These people would rather change the topic than admit defeat. Circular argument. This fallacy is when a person has holes in their argument that they fill in with assumptions of being true. They get stuck in a circle, ending up where they started, and repeating the same arguments over and over again. Instead of admitting the holes in their argument, they continue to reason in circles like a robot. They fail to see that both their premise and their conclusion depend on each other, yet no evidence exists to support either. An example is the moon is square because it has holes in it. The moon has holes in it because it is square. People who do this are intellectually dishonest. They aren't willing to do it properly, and take shortcuts. They don't think things through. They attach themselves to a belief of something being true, and cannot see past their belief. Become a critical thinker and learn how to defeat fallacies. Do that, and trolls will never be a problem again. Being a critical thinker is a moral obligation, a sign of moral and intellectual fortitude. It is the practice of doing things properly, being thorough and not taking shortcuts. Those who frequently engage in fallacies, which accounts for most people, are adult children who have a personal attachment to their beliefs. Belief is a powerful tool that can work for or against you. The pursuit of the truth comes at the cost of beliefs. The pursuit of beliefs come at the cost of the truth.